folks, I'm Chaitra, author, storyteller, and serial binge watcher with a soft spot for good drama and an even softer spot for missed potential. Now, I recently fell into a Turkish drama rabbit hole, one I never planned to enter, and at the bottom of that rabbit hole, Vendetta, or as it's more poetically titled in Turkish, Kan Çiçekleri, or otherwise known as Blood Flowers. Because nothing says romance like centuries-old murder and unresolved family trauma. I came for a little drama, stayed for the eye contact. I left, eventually, because the writing drove me up a wall faster than Baran walks away mid-conversation. I couldn't not talk about this because this show had all the ingredients of a cult classic and somehow still burnt the soup. Let's unpack episode 1 and see where it soared, where it stumbled, and how it could have been spectacular. Now, for a plot overview. The series launches with a good old-fashioned blood feud because nothing says romance like decades of generational trauma and a hostage situation. Baran Karabi, played by Baris Baktas, a man whose face says more in silence than most do in speeches, decides to end the violence by marrying the enemy's daughter, Dilan. You know, as one does, because couples therapy and peace talks just don't hit the same in Turkish dramas. Dilan, played by Yağmur Yüksel, dreams of studying abroad, but instead finds herself betrothed faster than you could say family honor. And just like that, the war pauses, or at least simmers under a few layers of forced politeness and passive-aggressive glances. Character dynamics. Enemies to lovers, but make it emotional constipation. Let's talk about chemistry. Baran and Dilan are practically magnetic. The eye contact alone could power a small village. But they're both so stubborn you'd think pride was a hereditary disease. Dilan is clearly drawn to Baran. You can see it in her hesitation, her sidelong stares, the way she agrees to marry him with the enthusiasm of someone accepting a group project they didn't sign up for. Meanwhile, Baran is the kind of emotionally repressed man who probably communicates love by offering you a glass of water in silence. Still, the tension is there. The building blocks of an epic slow burn romance are in place. Unfortunately, the writing seems determined to stomp those blocks in muddy boots. Production and direction. Too close for comfort. The cinematography loves close-up. Loves them. There are so many tight shots, I started to feel like I was the third wheel on a very tense date. Want to understand the setting? Too bad. You're getting eyebrow twitches and nostril flares in full HD. Jokes aside, the overuse of close-up strips the story of atmosphere. We don't get to feel the world around these characters. The tension would have been 10 times more powerful with some pulled-back shots, letting the silence breathe and the space between them say what dialogue couldn't. Instead, every scene felt like it was filmed in a cupboard. Dialogue and script. Copy, paste, cry. Now, here's where it gets rough. The dialogue is repetitive. It's like the scriptwriter discovered Control-C and Control-V and never looked back. Characters say the same lines in slightly different angry tones, as if the audience might forget they're mad, if we don't hear it again in 3 minutes. Let's talk about imagination. Is this really how two proud, fiery, conflicted young people would speak to each other? We're watching a situation that could be dripping in layered tension, unspoken desire, veiled threats, and instead, we're getting the dramatic equivalent of you two. It's not just weak. It's a waste of 2 actors who are doing their damnedest to emote through the script like they're going to send Morse code through their cheekbones. Let's get into the bones of it. The acting, strong. The chemistry, off the charts. Baris Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel are not just photogenic. They carry intensity in every glance. She won't stop watching him. He watches her just the same. They're prideful, stubborn, clearly drawn to each other. This could have been leveraged into a real slow burn magic. But Here's where the execution falters. Dialogue. As I mentioned previously, it's repetitive, unimaginative, and overly expositional. The characters say the same things over and over as if the script forgot they had inner lives. Cinematography. The camera is way too close, way too often. Instead of pulling back and letting us feel the emotional or physical distance between the characters, we get constant tight shots, a kind that makes even cardboard boxes look like they're in the middle of a nervous breakdown. Visual storytelling, nearly absent. The surroundings barely register. I want to see the weight of the tradition in the room. I wanted space, symbolism, atmosphere. What we got was dialogue-heavy claustrophobia without breathing room needed to feel the stakes. Now, imagine if Dylan had more agency. What if she accepted the proposal with calculation and not submission? What if their first exchange had been sharp, tense, laced with fear and fascination? That's how enemies fall in love on screen. The script should have trusted the audience, trusted silence, trusted subtext. Right now, the actors are doing all the heavy lifting. All the writing is stuck on page 1. Despite its flaws, episode 1 hit big. Over 2.3 million views, an 8.5 IMDb rating, and a fan base already drawing wedding dresses over Baran and Dylan's faces. The public loves it because the potential is real. The raw material is solid, and people are hungry for passionate, complicated love stories that feel earned. If only someone could stage an intervention for the writers. Final thoughts. So much promise, so little polish. Kanchikleri is not a bad show. It's a frustrating one. The first episode gives us a fantastic lead, sizzling tension, and the kind of premise you could build empires on. But instead of rising to that potential, it trips over clunky dialogue, suffocating cinematography, and storytelling choices that treat the audience like they've never seen a conflict before. With a sharper script, more imaginative direction, and a little breathing room, literally, this show could have been legendary. And maybe, just maybe, it still can be.